most people are 2 to 3 no's away from giving up their dream. Well, how sad is that? Do you know, I mean, I look at some of the leaders like Chris Brady, some of the leaders like Tim Marks or Claude Hamilton, George Gazzardo, Bill Lewis, or Dan Hawkins. And to get their dream, they've got to be willing to go through thousands of no's. You're like, wait a minute, if most people are 2 to 3 no's away from giving up their dream, and to be a leader, you've got to be able to handle thousands of no's, how are they doing that? They've learned how to turn rejection into energy. They've learned how to take other people's, when you get thrown lemons at you, turn them into lemonade, and you'll never be thirsty. Are you following? Let me just give you a couple examples from my life. When I was in the 10th grade, I'd never run track, I'd never run cross country, and it was the end of the school year. It's like the last month of school, and we were raising money for a sports program the next year, and we were going to do a lapathon program. And that was you go to the track and you run as many laps as you can in an hour time. Now remember, I've never run in my life at this point. I'm a sophomore. And so I kind of calculate, well, how many laps do you think you could run in an hour if you've never run? And I didn't ask. I didn't go check with other people that had run the lapathon. I just kind of calculate in my head. I'm like, well, if I ran this many, I said, I think I could do 30 laps. Yeah, I think I can do 30 laps in an hour. I've never run in my life. But, you know, so me being a cleric, kid that I am, I go up and say, if you sign up in my lapathon, I'd really appreciate we're raising money for the school, and I'm going to run 30 laps. And I couldn't believe how many people wanted to encourage me on that. They're like, 30 laps? The track team's not even going to run 30 laps. You're not going to run 30 laps. And then I'd go tell the next person, you don't know something about it. I'd tell somebody else, they told me. After a while, I'm starting to think, maybe I'm crazy to think, 30 laps. But I just happened to be enough of a cleric. I'm like, all right. So now no one was signing it because I was getting mad at everybody and arguing with them. So the next day, I come up with a different plan. I said, I'm going to run 30 laps or your money back. Man, I couldn't believe all the people were signing. Look at, you said I'm not going to run it, money. Just put your money where your mouth is. Amazing how many people. I had filled the first page, got another one, filled the second. I mean, I'm talking hundreds upon hundreds of dollars for a kid that had no money, you know. I'm raising a lot of money for the program if I can do 30 laps. So I go home. My dad had run cross country. I said, Dad, I'm going to run 30 laps. Now, my dad, you know, he was one of my greatest encouragers, but for whatever reason, 30 laps and a kid that had never run, which I can see now, I can see what he was talking about, because I'd probably do the same, being a dad. But he said, you know, son, you've never run before. You run 30 laps, your legs are going to practically fall off. You know, it's like, are you sure you want to do this? I'm like, Dad, I really need to run these 30 laps. Look at all this list. He says, man, I don't know. I don't think you should do it, you know. And so now it's even, I mean, everybody, nobody believes I can do it. So I'm like, well, I probably should do some running, preparing, you know, because I got about a week left. And so what I did is I ran about 1/8 of a mile up the end of my street, turned around, ran back. Oh, that's good. Feel pretty good. I'm ready to go. No practice, no nothing. The day of the race, I asked my dad, hey, said, Dad, you going to come up there? He says, yeah, I'll come up there. He said, well, I still think you're crazy, but, you know, I can tell you're going to do this. So he comes up. He sits in the stands, and he's got a stopwatch, because I said, I want you to time me. Because if I'm at 29 laps and there's a minute and a half left, you got to yell, because I'm going to sprint, you know. I'm getting 30 laps or I'm dying on that track. So we're supposed to start at, I believe it was 7 o'clock and run from 7 to 8, or 6 o'clock and run from 6 to 7, whatever. But we started late. We started at 6:05 or 7:05. We started 5 minutes late, and my dad neglected to put that into his calculation. Just remember that point for later. So I start running, you know. I'm like, I better take it easy, and I run, you know. And, you know, the first 10 minutes, I'm feeling pretty good. And this, you know, second 10 minutes, feeling pretty good. And I'm running around, and they're keep track of my times. And so far, I'm on pace and running. And, you know, I'm seeing some of the top people on the track team, and I'm like, well, I'm keeping up with them, and then I'm running. I'm within the top 2 or 3 people at the halfway mark. I'm thinking, okay, I just got to keep going, and so I just keep running, and I'm just focusing. I'm focusing on one thing. Every time I start getting tired, I go back to any number of people on that list that had volunteered to give me free energy. I don't know, maybe I'm wired totally wrong, I don't know. But if somebody tells me I can do something, that gives me about a volt of energy. If someone tells me I can't do something, that gives me about 5 volts of energy. And for whatever reason, people have always volunteered to give me energy in life. They go out of their way to want to help me succeed. It's just the most gracious thing in the world. I'm halfway in, and now I can start feeling it. My legs are starting to feel a little rubbery about the 30-minute mark, since I've never run more than, 3 minutes in my life. So the track coach is down there, and he's watching me run, so he's taking notes. 30 minutes, and so every lap, I say, I'm going to dedicate this lap to so-and-so. And now I get to 20 laps, and 21 laps, and 22 laps, and 23 laps. And dedicating everyone gets a lap, and 24, and 25, and 26, 27, 28. And then my dad went from not thinking I couldn't do it, he said, "You're gonna do it, keep going. That's my boy. This one's for you, Dad." So we get to 29 laps, and right when I'm coming up to 29 laps, he says, "Orrin, you only got 50 seconds left." And I'm calculating, is it possible to run a 50-second quarter? And I'm like, I don't know if it's possible, but I'm going for it. And I took off in a sprint. I'm in a dead sprint. I'm passing everybody. Vroom, vroom. I'm sprinting on a 50 seconds. And I hit that third thing. I'm like, it's got to be about 50, but I don't hear the clock. And I sprint, get to pass the finish line, and fall down over the line at 30. And I'm dying. And the track coach says, "You still got 4.5 minutes left." I look at my dad. Whose side are you on here? So with 4.5 minutes left, I'm exhausted. I just sprinted. I only made 1 more lap, so I finished at 31, I can't even begin to tell you how good it felt to collect on that Monday morning. I never hurt so bad. I was like this going down the stairs, but it didn't matter. No amount of pain was gonna stop me from the sweetness it felt to collect on those Lapathon dollars. You gotta have that inside of you.